Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant, happy Monday. First of all, it's good to be out. The weather's great here in St. Joseph, Missouri, and we thank you so much for joining us live via the MWSU Network, also via Missouri Western Athletics on Facebook Live. And I think I speak for everybody that's in the room today, an intimate gathering. A lot of people call this the new normal as it relates to press conferences and just gatherings. I'd like to call this just a temporary necessity till hopefully we can get back to a sense of normalcy, hopefully sooner than later. But it's an exciting day. Griffin Athletics, as today we get set to meet our sixth head men's basketball coach in Griffin Athletics history, Mr. Will Martin. We'll meet him and hear from him a little bit later on. A little bit about how the press conference structure will work here this afternoon. Once I get done here, I will introduce the president of Missouri Western State University, Mr. Matt Wilson, who will speak on some just general university-related news and also his take just on the state of our men's basketball program and share his excitement for Coach Martin and also just what Missouri Western men's basketball has done in the community over the last year and the excitement we look forward to moving forward. From there, President Wilson will then introduce our Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics, Dr. Josh Looney, who will talk about the search in general and give his comments on Coach Martin and the program moving forward. We will then, of course, hear from our new head men's basketball coach, Coach Will Martin. Following that, we will take some questions and we'll have a Q&A session with our media members that are here in the room with us this afternoon. Following that, we'll welcome Dr. Looney back to the podium, and the media that's in the room will also have an opportunity to ask him some questions as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce President of Missouri Western State University, Matt Wilson. President Wilson.
Well, and good afternoon. It truly is a great day here on the campus of Missouri Western, and we're so excited as the momentum on our campus continues. This semester has been a challenge for all of us. As you talk about the month of March, oftentimes we say, in like a lion, out like a lamb. I think higher powers have reversed the trend this year, and so it was in like a lamb, and it's going to be out like a lion. But, you know, part of that lion is encompassed in a griffin. Right? And when we think about lions here on our campus, you know, it is a great thing. When we think about strength, and with the griffin, we think about speed, we think about agility, we think about really going out and conquering the challenge at hand. And that's what we're doing here on our campus, is we are hands-on applied learning, problem solving, right? We're trying to make the best for our students, making sure that our students go out and they succeed. And so here on our campus, we have shifted to alternate forms of delivery with the students' interest in hand. And the way that we are approaching the semester is different and probably a little more unique than what other universities across the world are doing. But we want to make sure that our faculty have flexibility, our students do as well. We do miss our students being here on campus. We miss our student athletes. We miss the crowds. We miss the activities that are here. But we don't want to focus on the negative. We want to focus on the positive, because we know that here that we have a lot of momentum. We have a lot of hope. So a lot of great things that we have incorporated on our campus over the last 9 months as we truly have been building towards new heights. And so as we position ourselves to move forward, we're excited to do it on the academic side. We have new things that are coming out in the form of Gold Fridays, our Center for Service. We have a Griffin Guarantee Scholarship. So a lot of new excitement in terms of new sports that we've added. We've added a new women's lacrosse team. We have done a whole host of things that make Missouri Western more friendly, more flexible, and really engender success here on our campus. And one of the things that has led to a lot of great success is our basketball program. I arrived here on our campus last July, and I had been told that the last 10 years had been quite a struggle for our men's basketball team. Now, that was disappointing, being somebody who absolutely loves basketball, and for those of you that have been around our campus know that, as we have done a shootout against the Prez, where students shot against me for scholarship money, and if they lost, they got a hug. No longer acceptable. But if they won, they got a $500 scholarship, leading to a grand prize of a $4,000 scholarship. If I ended up winning, as I was challenging them, I was shooting from three-point land, and they were shooting from the free throw line. Our Center for Service, that really is going to get students into our community doing great things, was a benefactor of that as well. And so being out on the court, it was a fun season, not only from a personal standpoint, but watching how a program that had been put together 2 years ago completely gelled. This being my first year, the first part of the season was a little bit rushed. rough. Now, we played some great teams, some ranked teams, but it was interesting with a roster full of predominantly freshmen, with sophomores, and with a couple of upperclassmen, watching them, particularly as we went through the winter break and as they came out of that, life became something that was different, something that was exciting. We saw accomplishments and feats with our basketball team that had not been experienced here on our campus for decades. Whether it was a winning streak, whether it was being undefeated at home until literally almost the last game of the season, what our men's basketball team was able to do at home and on the road was something that was truly special. And I think all of us here on the campus are a testament to the program that Sundance Wicks put into place, together with his coaching staff, including Will Martin and others that are here in this room. The group of guys that he recruited truly are a group of special individuals. They're not only talented, but they know their roles. They know how to play together. They rose to the challenge, and much like a lion, much like a griffin, we saw great things that came out of them. And so as we sat down and as we started to think about, with Sundance Wicks going back to his home state of Wyoming, what the next step might be, our attention immediately turned to our new head coach. And so we're really excited to talk about the process of how that came down. I can tell you that not only was our vice president for intercollegiate athletics, Josh Looney's phone ringing off the hook, but I was even getting late night phone calls from different places around the country, different emails saying, hey, we've seen what Missouri Western basketball is about. It's about quality, it's about excellence, it's about energy. We love the momentum. What we see in your guys is something special, and I got somebody that I want to introduce to you to potentially take over the reins. And it was really amazing to just see the attention from across the country that we got here. But as we started to talk about what was best for our program, there was someone who was just shining. And I will turn the time over now to Josh Looney to talk about that shining star and bring him up to the podium and introduce him as well. But we're super excited about bringing Will Martin and his team into not only into our program because he has been here, but really to have him take the reins, take the momentum, take his talents, everything that he has been prepared for to take our basketball program to an even higher level. Will, we're looking forward to having you elevate the program. We've got all the confidence and trust in Will. And with no further ado, I'll turn the time over to Josh. Go Griffs.
Thank you, President Wilson, for all the support you've given us in your first year leading this institution. What a bizarre setting of a special day and unprecedented times, and speaking to a few cameras in a near empty room as we announce our sixth head men's basketball coach. But what I can tell you is there have been countless individuals in the community who have reached out to Will, to myself, to others throughout this and extend their well wishes and support. And we've heard that, we've felt it, we know the faith you have in this program. And so even though we're not able to celebrate together as we normally would today, it's valuable, and we feel that, and given the point in time when we can, we will definitely have a nice welcoming for all our Gold Coat members and community members with our new head men's basketball coach in the future. I want to talk a bit about the quality of person that we're getting here. Will Martin is someone that checks all the boxes on what we're looking to bring in to lead young men in our program. He motivates, he inspires, he's incredibly positive, he adapts, but there's a couple of things about Will that I don't think many that aren't close to our program would know. And he is by far the most selfless person we have in this athletic department. By far. I'm wearing today a tie that Will Martin gave me in the summer of 2018. He was on a basketball without borders trip. We had just hired him. He really didn't know anybody here, and he came back with a whole bunch of Griffin ties he found, I believe it was in Italy, and just started passing them around, and I got one of these, so I thought it was fitting to wear one of these. But that's his heart in nature, is in giving. And two quick stories that expand upon that. Last year, about a year ago, we were going through a women's basketball search, and Will comes up and volunteers to run our women's team through their off-season program while Coach Edmondson had stepped away, and before we had found Candy Whitaker. It was about a month's time. It was critical time, and he stepped up. In addition to all the things he was doing for men's basketball, he led our women's basketball team through everything. I said, Will, thank you. I'd love to put some compensation together and give you, a little more money this month for that. And he said, absolutely not. That's what being a good Griff's about. I'm all in, and these women deserve this. And so somebody that turned down an opportunity to get a little extra pay and do a lot of extra work, that's the type of person Will Martin is. Another story is about a month ago, we thought we were going to lose Will from our staff. He had an opportunity to remain in basketball in a non-coaching role at a very, very high level. And it was an opportunity that would have changed the trajectory of his lifestyle financially, without question. And so we were preparing before the MIAA tournament what our staff might look like at that time. And Will turned down that opportunity to remain on this staff as an assistant coach because he believed in what we were building for 2 years under Sundance Wicks. And who knew that God would move pieces together where 3 weeks, 4 weeks after that, we were looking for a head coach. And then now he is our head coach. So it's interesting how things align. But that's Will Martin for you. That's the loyalty he has to this institution and the selflessness he has about himself. Our search lasted 72 hours, but make no mistake, it was not a closed search and a quick promotion. It happened quickly, but for those 72 hours from about 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., every day we were fielding those calls. We were building a short list of people that were going to be on our target list, and Will was obviously on that short list. We knew that if it was Will, we wanted to do it swiftly and decisively, and Will was someone that we interviewed for hours on end on Friday and ultimately offered him the job Saturday morning. Without question, Will Martin earned this opportunity through his 2 years here and also showing that he's ready to be a head basketball coach. And we are all in on his vision for that and really the vision he's had that started 2 years ago and has had this great momentum that has gone alongside it. We have a loaded roster. We're excited about that. Will has played a prominent role in bringing in the student athletes that have come and transformed this program of the last 2 years. And clearly, if any of you look at social media, he has their trust to lead them and is clearly a favorite of our athletes. Will, before we introduce you here, your background is pretty unbelievable. This is somebody that turned down opportunities to play college basketball because he knew he wanted to be a coach. So his career started at 18. It started at the University of Kentucky, working for Billy Gillespie, working for John Calipari, winning a national championship with the Kentucky Wildcats. Opportunities for mentorship that are available for few and sought by many. And he's one that got to come up through those ranks. He goes on and he's the personal trainer for a number 1 draft pick in Anthony Davis, who also helped, was one of the first ones, I think, publicly to congratulate you on Saturday. And then he goes on and he works at Tulsa for coaches like Danny Manning and Frank Haith. And then he's on a staff at San Francisco with Rex Walters. These names are unbelievable that he's been able to attach his journey with. And then he gets to go to Martin Methodist in his home state of Tennessee, an NAIA program that opens the door for experiences beyond basketball when you look at missions and academic progress and some other valuable experiences. And then he's here on our staff the last 2 years, rebuilding here at Missouri Western with Sundance Wicks. And so without further ado, we are all very excited to welcome our 6th head men's basketball coach, Will Martin, and his fiancee, Avens Ridgway. I'll leave this up here. You guys can get a picture with the jersey, and time is yours after that. There you go, brother.
Well, thank you. First, I'm led by faith, and I'm guided by that faith and not my sight. So first, I just want to thank God for preparing a way and a journey for me that I could have never manifested by my own best will. Impossible. And so I want to give God credit and the glory for that. Dr. Josh Looney, President Matt Wilson, Sarah Cravens, Teresa Grossbach, Eric Kramer, Nick McCutcheon, Ryan Minley, Mike Holleran, Luis Mills. I could go down the entire line of our entire administration. Thank you, sincerely. I made it abundantly clear in my interviews that I do not have all the answers. I don't have this figured out. And I thank you for your support, but I officially ask you now for your help, because it's going to take a lot of collaboration. It's going to take a lot of help from everybody to keep this thing going, and I look forward to working with you. I'm going to disappoint all of my speech teachers, debate team coaches right now, because I'm going to look down as I think some of the coaches, mentors, and players who have helped me get to this spot, and there's no way I'm going to be able to cover everyone, but bear with me as I don't make eye contact here. Starting off at Kentucky, Billy Gillespie, who gave me my first opportunity, Coach Calipari, who by far has been my first mentor and the mentor that has taught me what it looks like to be a true servant leader. I was talking to Josh, and I told him in my interview, I don't think about basketball when I think about what Coach Cal's done for me. I think about how he taught me to lead. And it was so much bigger than basketball with him. And people talk about that, and it sounds cliche, but when Cal first got the job, he had all the managers over to his house after about the first 2 weeks. And we were freaking out because we thought, hey, he's calling us over to his house, like we must be in real big trouble. We must not have done the laundry right. What do we do? He's going to fire us. And we get there, and his wife sits us down at the dining room table, and Coach Cal comes out with an apron and a plate of ribeye steaks, and he starts serving the managers. That's the kind of leader that I worked for at Kentucky. And that's what allowed me to know what it means to put players first, to put your staff first, to put the community first. Kenny Payne, who taught me everything about basketball, skill development, recruiting. He's the associate head coach at Kentucky. Would not be here, would not be the coach that I am. I wouldn't be the man that I am without Kenny Payne. Anthony Davis, who gave me my first job out of college as his trainer in New Orleans. We grew up together quick. We both had goals. I wanted to be the best trainer, the best coach that I could possibly be at a young age, and he wanted to be the best basketball player in the world. And so we had a vested interest. And because of that interest, we spent a lot of nights in the gym together, a lot of sweat equity, a lot of time. And that created a bond that will last forever. And for him to be one of the first people to congratulate me on Twitter, completely humbling. I wouldn't be here without him. Our guys would not have who I am. I wouldn't be able to invest and give back to them the way that I do if it wasn't for Anthony Davis and what I learned with him in New Orleans and since. As Josh said, I went back to grad school. I was able to work for Danny Manning, Justin Bauman, Steve Woodbury on that staff were huge in my development. Frank Haith got the job, Shea Seals, Dave Lado. Then I got the opportunity to go to University of San Francisco, Rex Walters, Luke Wicks there. In Nashville, Dave Peden, William Belford, Michael Cooey. And then at Martin Methodist, head coach Scott Combs and the athletic director there, Jeff Bain. And then I get here to Missouri Western, and Candy Whitaker has been huge for me. I can't wait to continue to learn and work with her. She was able to get a head coaching job at a very young age at UMKC and had tremendous success. And as I was going through this interviewing process, she pumped so much confidence into me that allowed me to go into that interview and be authentic and true and real and not worry about my age, not worry about my inexperience. So I can't wait to continue to learn from her. And then last but not least, Sundance Wicks. And over the course of the next few days and for the rest of my life, I'm going to be able to talk about the impact that Sundance has had on my life. I want to thank him for giving me the opportunity to serve him in this role, to serve these players, and to serve this community. We came in with a goal, with a mission to build a culture. And, you know, I'm the goddaughter to his firstborn. So that relationship is never going to go away, but let me make this clear. I did not come here for Sundance Wicks, and he knows that. I came here for the vision that we had. I came here for what we wanted to create. And because of what he did, because of what he built, I'm fortunate enough to be able to carry that on. And all my thanks and gratitude goes to him and his family. With that being said, thank you to everyone who has sent out texts. Anybody that I left off, I will be calling you. I will be texting you. Thank you for the impact that you've had on my life. I am a product of everyone who has invested in me. So everything that I am as a human being is credit to people who first invested in me and took that time. I am humbled and grateful to be here. And I'm fully aware that it's not about me. And it's not. What these players have done in these past 2 years, what this community has done, what our staff has done, what these professors on campus have done, what our donors, our Gold Coat members have done, they allowed me to have this opportunity. It's about them. It's not about me. And I know that. When you're able to live your dream because of the love, the hard work, and the sacrifice of other people, that's true humility. That's what humility looks like. It's what it feels like. And that's how I feel right now, standing in front of you. Truly humbled. And love got us here. Love's going to have to carry us through. And true sacrifice is the willingness to suffer for that which you love. And when you look at our team, when you look at our program, when you look at this community, it's filled with love. It's filled with people who are willing to sacrifice, willing to suffer for the collective good, for all of us, for everyone in this room, for everybody watching. Love is going to carry us through. You're going to hear me talk a lot about flow. For me, flow stands for faith, love, ownership, and work. I believe that faith without action is dead, so it's perfect that the bookends of flow are faith and works. But the love and the ownership is what gives your work meaning. And you hear people talk all the time about buy-in, buy-in, buy-in. When I'm recruiting players here, when I'm talking to our current players and our staff, you're not going to hear me talk about buy-in, because we need believe in. You see, anybody can buy in. If you have any capital at all, you can chip in, but then you can also pull out. If you believe in something, if you truly believe in something, you're all in. And it's the first thing that Josh said when he offered me the job. He said, "Will, I'm all in on you." I just want everyone to know I'm all in. I'm all in on these players. I'm all in on this community, this program, and I'm all in on what we're going to do here. And it's going to be bigger than basketball. It's going to be a lot bigger than me. And I can't wait to connect the dots looking backwards and stand here with everyone as our players graduate and go live their dreams because of the work and the sacrifice that other people put in for them. I can't wait till we cut down nets, because all of that is a part of this. All of it. And that one part is bigger than the other. And that's what's special about this place, is that people understand that. People get that. And I'm honored to be your head coach. Thank you.
Questions?
Every single mentor or colleague that I've ever had, regardless of their age, regardless of their experience, have told me, you're never prepared or you're never ready for your first head coaching job. And so for me to sit up here and act like this year or 2 years ago or back at Kentucky that I thought that I was ready to be a head coach, I'd be lying to you. I wasn't prepared for this. Now, I was put in positions to be empowered for this moment, to be ready, but nothing prepares you. Nothing prepared me for the last 72 hours. My fiance made our staff take my phone away from me because for the last 72 hours, I've just been glued trying to text people back and thank them for hitting me up. Nothing prepares you for that. And by the way, this is my first press conference, so I'm sorry to go rogue already. After God, dang it, Minley. Ryan Minley, I've been suppressing my feelings for the last 72 hours, and then Minley releases that video, and I've been crying for the last 4 hours. So I promised myself I wasn't going to cry here. The person who deserves the most credit after God is sitting over here, who took the picture to me. 3.5 years ago, when I was a part-time assistant at Martin Methodist in NAI school, I also worked in admissions. And I worked college fairs, where I would sit at college fairs and hand out pamphlets to potential students to try to get them to come to Martin Methodist. And my table was set up next to Abrams Ridgeway. And she had no idea about my status, which wasn't a very high status at that time. She didn't know who Anthony Davis was, which was a huge piece for me. She didn't know who John Calipari was. And from the moment that I met her, she's allowed me to be me. She has only desired that I follow my heart. That's it. She's the reason why I can turn down those financial opportunities. She's the reason why I can be the man that I am. So thank you. Back to your question, Zinner. Sorry. Nothing prepares you to becoming a head coach, and I never felt that I was necessarily ready, but I do feel like because of the experience that I've had and the high level of coaches that have invested in me, that I would be able to do a good job, and that I would know how to ask for help. I would know how to seek help. I would know how to work with others. And because of that, I think that I'm ready to be the head coach here. You know, huge buzzword is culture. But when culture is real, you can feel it, you can see it. And that's not a testament to me, that's a testament to our culture and what we've built here. And I told Josh and President Wilson when I interviewed that there was no doubt in my mind that there was going to be a slew of high-level candidates that interviewed for this job. Candidates that have had head coaching experience, that have won a lot of games, that are a lot older than me. But I also said that there's no one who is more experienced in this culture than I am. There's no one who is more experienced when it comes to these players than I am. And so I felt the love and the support, but I really just felt proud that our culture means something, and it's not just a buzzword. Because what they believe in is what they have built, what we have built. And when they say protect Looney, and my picture just happens to be on that, what they're talking about is protecting us and the vision and the mission and what we can still accomplish. And knowing that it's not about me is so humbling. And I know I've used that word a lot already, but the humility that you feel when a player can not only show you support, but put it out there like that. We talk about race and maturity all the time. How mature is it for an 18 to 21-year-old kid to be able, in a 72-hour period, less than that, to process losing their head coach, someone they love dearly, to process and internalize that, understand it, be able to say, thank you for what you've done for us. We're happy for you and what you're doing for your family. Now let's get back to work and focus on this team. If that's not mature, I don't know what is. So credit to those guys for believing in what they have accomplished and being able to have the fortitude and the strength, the emotional strength, to see that during a potentially turbulent time emotionally.
What is your vision? What is your Josh?
You know, I'm not going to come in here and try to change what we've done. It has worked, and there's going to be things that are different about my leadership style, but the vision doesn't change. The mission doesn't change. The man is the mission. These kids are the mission. The vision is to continue to build on what we've already started, and everyone keeps talking about momentum, momentum, momentum. Our GA, Ty Danielson, came into my office the other day, and he said, I just keep thinking about this analogy of a train, and you know, the only way that the momentum stops is if people start jumping off the train. So we got to make sure that everyone stays on board this train. And right now, the vision is that we keep everyone connected. But moving forward, the vision is for kids to be able to realize their dreams, for us to be able to have success, not just on the court, but in the classroom, in the community, for these guys, not just after 4 years, but for the next 40 years, be able to be great fathers, great leaders, great servants. That's the mission of this program and this team. I knew it when I was working at San Francisco with Sundance, and we talked about what we would want to build one day. And when we got fired, he looked at me and he said, if I ever get a job, you're going to be my first call. And I told him, I don't know when that will be, if it'll be a couple years or 20 years, but no matter where I am in life, whether I'm a head coach, what money I'm making, I'm going to take that opportunity because we share a similar passion. We share a similar purpose. So I saw the fruits of the labor that we've put in the last 2 years ago. In terms of knowing that it was possible at this place, I put a SWOT analysis together for President Wilson and Dr. Looney, and I was kind of afraid it's the first SWOT analysis that I've ever put together, but I talked about all the opportunities and the strengths that this place provides. We are, I don't want to botch this, but I believe we're 15 of 17 on kids that we've recruited that have come to campus, and it might be 15 of 16. That's not our great recruiting. That's getting those kids to campus. And once they see the facilities that we have, once they see that the community is invested in them, when they sit down with Eric Kramer and he maniacally answers every single one of their parents' questions, when they sit down with Teresa, when they sit down with Louise, when they sit down with Dr. Looney and President Matt Wilson, they understand that we don't just talk family, we are family. And that makes people want to be here. And then when you talk about the resources that we have, I can't tell you how many people don't know who Ryan Minley is and they hate him. Because I get text messages and calls from D1 coaches all around the country that say, who is your guy that pumps all this material out? He makes you guys look amazing. And I say, well, first of all, we are amazing. But second of all, he's the wizard behind the curtain, and he will never leave me, right? He will never leave us, and he makes this place special. And so I believed in the vision before I got here, but then once I got here, I got really excited because of what we can offer. This is a D1 program, and I'll say that. When you talk about facilities, when you talk about staff, when you talk about community, administration, this is a high-level program, and once people get here and they see it, they want to be a part of it. As far as I know, I told the committee when we interviewed that my first job was going to be re-recruiting every single one of our players, and they deserve that. But I also told Josh, there's only one secret I believe that Sundance has ever kept from me, and that was this opportunity at Wyoming, and that hit me like a ton of bricks at the last moment, just like it did everyone else. And I called Josh that night, and I was kind of hesitant to call because I knew that he knew my motives and my intentions, but you never know, especially as an assistant coach. And I told him, I said, I've been a part of this 3 times. Once at Kentucky, when Cal came on after Gillespie left. Once at Tulsa, when Danny Manning got the Wake Forest opportunity and Fred Haith came on. And then once at USF. And every single time, and this is no knock at anyone out there, somebody always had some type of self-interest during that time, and it created negative energy. And I called Josh and I said, I didn't even say I don't know what you're doing with this position. All I said is, I want you to know that my only motive, my only intention right now is retaining these kids for this program. Because they have earned the right to continue what they have built. So I started re-recruiting these players to keep them to stay on before I even knew that I had a shot at this job. And them staying together, it's not going to be about me. It's going to be about what they've built together. And I can't reiterate that enough. you come to a lot of our practices, you see the love that those guys have for each other. It's going to be easy to preach this flow thing because our guys live it. Faith, love, ownership, and work. They abide by it within. It's true and it's real in its very essence. And so those guys staying together is going to be proof of that flow.
How would you characterize your leadership coaching style? So we saw Sunday out there. How would you kind of characterize?
Just like my coaching style, from a leadership standpoint, I'd say that I'm a product of every mentor and coach that has invested in me, and I've been blessed to work with the best. At the end of the day, I'm going to be true and authentic to me, but I'm going to be able to take different leadership skills of each person that I've worked for and apply that. It's so important to not only be able to obtain something, but also apply it. So I do think that, and it'll be exciting for not only our guys, but this community, that there's a part of me, a personality, a charisma that hasn't been fully exerted because I knew the role that I had for this program. I knew that I had to be the best possible assistant for Sundance Wicks in order to move this thing forward. And when you're working for the juice man, you don't invade the juice. You don't try to stop that train. So there's a lot of me and my personality that will be seen, especially over the course of the next few days. But as long as I'm the head coach here, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be true and authentic to myself. And I'm an empath by nature. Sometimes it's a gift and sometimes it's a curse. I wouldn't call myself intuitive, but a lot of people have used that word to describe me and the way I build relationships and the way I teach and I feel how other people are thinking. So that's always going to remain a part of me, no matter what position I feel. I don't. We want to keep this thing as consistent and as stable as possible. The staff has done a tremendous job, and I wouldn't be here without them, just like I wouldn't be here without these players. So I have a lot to think about, obviously, in the next few days. Right now I've been focused on our players. They've been the most important key to all of this, and I'm definitely going to be thinking about a staff moving forward. Well, it's tough, and prayers to everyone who's been affected by this virus and this pandemic. We've all been affected, whether it's been direct or indirect. I don't want to get in trouble here, but I don't like the term social distancing because I think there's so many ways that we can still stay socially connected. We've been blessed with technology, social media, and ways to connect. So while I'm in full support of physical distancing, not just for individual health, but collective health of this entire world now, this time more than ever, we have to find unique and creative ways to connect because human connection is everything. So we've been finding ways to keep the guys locked in. I think that next year, staffs around the country are going to look back and think about what did we do during that time to either make this place better or what we might have done that made this thing worse. Because you have to stay connected, and you have to find ways where players still feel invested and they still feel like they're connected. They still feel like they're here even though they're not. And it makes it easy when you have players like we do. But obviously, it creates a lot of difficulties when you can't see somebody face-to-face. So we do Zoom meetings. We FaceTime all the time. We text. We utilize the technology that we have that allows us to feel closer, even when we're at a physical distance. And we'll continue, especially once I lock down my staff, we will continue to dive deep down the rabbit hole of ways that we can turn this into a positive thing and not a negative thing. No. In Coach Cal's press conference at Kentucky, they asked him a question about the roster and recruiting, and he said, this is for all coaches out there. There's three things that you need to remember about how to build a successful program, a successful team, especially on the court. And he said, one is really good players. Two is really good players. And three is really, really good players. So we have really good players here, and I'm beyond excited to be able to continue to coach them. The success that we have on the court is all credit to players. Players win games, not coaches. It'll be that way until the end of time. In terms of my coaching style, I think that people are going to love watching us play. We're going to play fast, which every head coach, when they get a head coaching job in the press conference, they say we're going to play fast, but we're going to play fast and intelligent, and we're going to utilize the weapons that we have. We're going to utilize the strengths that we have. I am not a system guy. I am let's go get the best possible players and the best people for our community out there, and then we can create a system for them. If the best basketball players in a class are all extreme athletes and they're the best players, we're not going to not recruit them because they might not have a certain skill set that we think fits our system. We're going to get the best players. We're going to recognize their strengths. We're going to recognize their weapons. And then we as a staff are going to serve them and this team by creating a system that fits them. And I think that not only future drifts, but our current roster, they're going to love that aspect, because we're going to talk a lot about actions and not set plays. We're not going to be robots that have to remember a certain sequence of a play. We're going to teach kids how to play the game, and then we're going to create actions that get them open, create space for them, that allow them to make great plays in great situations.
Coach Martin, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, questions for Dr. Looney? Fire away.
Let's talk a little bit about what you observed when you looked at the basketball program the last 2 years. Obviously, you're going to watch Sundance a lot of things the last couple of years of the transformation, but you're going to look at the entire program too. What did you notice from Will these last 2 years?
That he totally put in complete sacrifice into what the vision of that program was. And it's funny, when we were interviewing women's basketball coaching candidates, we pulled Will. Will was on another cell, so he was on that search committee to give us the basketball mind. And you're asking questions, hey, do you foul or not if you're, up 3 late? And we knew where our head coach was on the matter, and he was, on the other side of that. And so it shows where you're all in what you're being asked to do, but you have your own ideas, right? And so that was my first glimpse into he's all in everything, but that's also the character he has is complete loyalty. And then really what sold me on him for this job is I knew he had a connection to players, but in the interview I handed him our roster. And I said, go down this roster, tell me about what every single one of these players needs to do to improve for us to win a championship. And there was very little basketball in those answers. It was all how he knew them as people, mental pieces, confidence pieces, and so it just went to another deeper level for him. And I think that's been a huge piece of Will and our growth of this program for 2 years is what he's brought in to support Sundance Wicks and to support these individual athletes, their families, and he's been incredible with it.
When you saw the players on Twitter putting that out over the last few days, did that impact you?
Well, I noticed to those guys, it didn't get him the job, but it didn't hurt either, right? Will earned it, and it was. I actually asked him after, did they know you were interviewing? Because a lot of them started putting that out within about 45 minutes of when we were about to interview him. He goes, no, I swear they didn't know I was interviewing today. I think it goes in the culture. It's just another thing that you can put your finger on of the support. Good assistant coaches, when a coach leaves, should be well liked by their players, no matter the program and where that program is, success or not. But there was something a little bit different about these guys and their support for Will, no doubt.
What was he going up against? You said the phone was ringing off the oven when we talked today.
I told you guys Wednesday that within hours of the news getting out with Sundance, that email, text, voicemail, people recommending others, people representing themselves, where that happened to some degree the last time, but not nearly the quality that was being reached out. So we had some of those conversations with others, and we were ready to schedule other interviews, but Will was on that list with a lot of experienced head coaches, and we're going to talk to him first. And he left no doubt. We don't need to look behind door number 2. Our answer's right here. I think his voice, Will has been one that is well liked in our department and well respected. But until he's speaking passionately for 3 hours about Missouri Western basketball and each individual, where we had a head coach that spoke a lot and was entertaining, and there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to hear from Will Martin, except for the occasional time he'd fill in on a coach's radio show if our head coach is there. So I think part of that is even more working behind the scenes, even within our own department, right? That's the juice was really out in front in our program, and so to really just sit time and let him go for 3 hours, and just that passion that comes through, and his voice leaves no doubt he's ready to be the voice of the program and continue. We're all in what we've been doing 2 years ago, and I think the surprise in all of this, and it probably aligns the way it's all supposed to happen, was, hey, we're building. We're not trying to quick fix a decade of losing. We're building for sustained success, and we knew that year 3 was the time we wanted to start being competitive, right? Build it, take our lumps, build young rosters, bring in guys. Hopefully we can win sooner than later. And we're 4-7, 4-8 around Christmas, right? And it clicked for a really young roster, and it rapidly grew and changed. And so where we're at in the program, that doesn't change, right? We feel we have a loaded roster that is sustainable, and he's been here from day one of that and part of that vision. So it's continuing what we've built, and that's a big piece and very important to us as well. And I know this community. He's had a lot of supporters in this community that have seen what Missouri Western basketball has done the last 2 years and wanted to stay on the trajectory that it is. Well, I knew about AD, and then their associate AD last night said something about us playing at Rupp Arena, so I guess I got to call Kentucky and find out if we can make that happen. That was a surprise. No, it's great. That's an example. You've got an NBA superstar that really has the opportunity to be something that league builds around as their athlete for the next decade, that has that closer relationship with Will Martin. And the reason he does is because Will worked with him individually during his time at Kentucky and during his time preparing for the draft. So AD experienced the same purpose-guided individual attention that our guys experience, which is why they did the whole social media campaign. It's why they love him. It's because they trust him. They know he knows what he's talking about. He knows that he's got their best interest at heart beyond basketball. And so I think it all intertwines, whether you're an NBA superstar or you're one of our guys, regardless of where you're at on our roster, they all feel the same way about him. It's huge. I wouldn't lie to you if I didn't think that envision for this program would be we win a championship, cut down a net 3, 4, 5 years after the hiring, and Will Martin becomes our next head coach to continue that, right? So it happens after 2 years and before we cut down nets, but those things are still going to happen with him, and it's the same vision, and it's that continuation. So we're all in on him. Betting on Will Martin, betting on our guys.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Looney. We appreciate everybody coming today, those that are in the room. We also, and I want to close today by saying this, we've used this term all in a lot today. And the beauty of technology, even though our fans couldn't be here, some of our best supporters couldn't be here, I think we would all agree this room would be packed. Technology brought it to over 100 living rooms, cell phones today. I know that for a fact, and maybe more. And I've had a number of people reach out to me while this is going on. Several people in the room probably have as well that have said, tell Coach Martin congratulations. We are all in as well. So I wanted to publicly do that. We can't wait for the future. We can't wait to see everybody in public again. But until that happens, we appreciate your time today. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go Griffs.